Okay, this is a special version of Antics, Joe Aufricht, number 11. Okay, this is a special version of Antics, Joe Aufricht, number 11, because I'm going to talk about some of the things I did in 7th, 8th grade, maybe 9th, whatever, when I aggravated, taunted kids, got picked on, etc. Well, anyway, this is one of the things I did to taunt kids. I would go like this. And some kids would be making, this one kid in particular, I remember he'd be making it, I'm going to kick your ass face. I also used to say to kids in 7th grade, in early 7th grade anyway, this is what I think of your parents. I said it to this one kid, Howard Higginbottom, and he said, okay, fine, I'll tell him that. I said it to this girl, Cheryl, she's like, fine, I'll tell him that. Then I said it to this guy, James Reichner. He gave me a dirty, mean look. My parents? I said, well, why don't you tell them? Maybe they'll come after me. He says, no, I'll just beat your ass myself. And after that, at times, when he'd go past me at my locker, he would like run real fast and try to kick my feet out from under me. And sometimes he'd kick so hard it hurt, and I'd be like, hey, like, you better not say anything. I guess he got to hate me. Another time when he was walking past my classroom, I gave him the finger. He was like, you better quit giving me the finger, Joey. Anyway, I taunted this kid, Rick Howell, in the school after I saw him chase some kid up the stairs to get back at him, back at the kid. And somebody said he had a temper, so I said to him one day in the hallway, you're a lousy fighter. When he saw me again, he's like, Rachel, who's a lousy fighter to get me? I'm like, temper, temper, and he backed off and walked away. And then I was agitating this kid, Mike O'Donnell. I don't remember what I did to anger him. I would tell you if I remembered, but I didn't. But he said he was going to beat me up in the hallway after class, and I told him, it's a big funny. You're going to beat me up. Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's a big funny. Where did I get big funny from? Because a couple years before that, when I was 11, my dad was trying to throw guilt trips on me for things. He says, when your parents split up because you've driven us crazy, and I laughed. I tried to hide my laughter by putting my hand over my face, and Mom said, he don't care, it's a big funny. So that's where I got big funny from. I kept saying big funny. That was a big funny. And this other kid kind of laughed, big funny. Well, anyway, this kid Nick, who had been sticking up for me, said he wasn't sticking up for me this time. But some other kid ended up grabbing him and stopping him. And anyway, sometime later on down the road, he said, remember that kid that stuck up for you in the hallway? I said, yeah. He said, well, guess what? He said, I can beat you up. Anyway, it all started with Mike O'Donnell when, well, I had stolen his pencil, I think in the bathroom, because I had been doing that, and I told my best friend Rick Dunson about it. And so one day the science teacher had us do a project where we would write out descriptions of another kid, and the rest of us or somebody else would have to guess who that kid was. And he made a description of me that I like Jell-O in the cafeteria for dessert, and that I like to steal people's pencils in the bathroom when they're not looking. And so Mike had told me I better give back his pencil. This was and prior to that time when I said about it being a big funny. And I didn't give his pencil back. I figured I'm not afraid of him. Well, anyway, he got, I don't remember exactly how he got aggressive with me in the hallway, but we kind of got into it, I guess, and his big brother, who was a grade ahead of us, came and hit me. And sometime down the road in study hall, well, now I had to contend with him because he was always picking on me, Mike's brother Dan, and I hit him on the back with a book one day. And I even told Mike, hey, you better watch out because I hit your brother on the back with a book. There wasn't really a lot of, punching in the face or anything like that. They would just You know, like punching the arm real hard or the back or whatever, maybe at times the stomach. But anyway, then there was this guy named Adam Arden, who in recent times I found out passed away about 8 months because of a pill overdose and heat exhaustion. Anyway, I thought he was a scaredy cat, even though he was bigger than me and towered over me, because he was talking to some kid in the grocery store and being friendly with him. That they both went to different grade school. Adam did not go to my grade school. He went to my junior high, and the first couple weeks or month of my 9th grade, and then he moved away. But anyway, in the meantime, I thought he was a scaredy cat because he was been friendly with some kid from my grade school. He was called a scaredy cat because when the kids would chase him, he'd run away. And I don't know why they hated him or whatever, chased him, but they did. But when I told Adam about it, he said he never heard of him. And then one day after school, we kind of were getting into it. I don't remember all the details, but I was with my friend Rick, and Adam was picking on me, and I just kind of reached out and kicked him with my foot. He's like, "Don't you kick me," and he got a little physical. And then my mom, who was waiting to pick me up, ran over and grabbed him and collared him, got real aggressive with him, said, "What do you mean picking on my kid?" And saying, you know, he's my kid is smaller than you. You're almost as big as me. Anyway, Rick came home with me after that. Mom rode us both back to my place because Rick was my friend, and sitting in the kitchen, 3 of us, and Rick was telling her about how sometimes I would only do funny stuff to get back at kids. Funny stuff, quote unquote. Well, anyway, and then Mom saw I had a pocket knife in my pocket, and she said, "I don't want to see you taking that knife to school, or you're gonna get it from the leader," meaning Dad. Well, anyway, and I did it anyway. Took the knife to school, just carried it in my pocket. It was not a real sharp knife. Mom said it wouldn't cut butter on a hot day, but I had threatened some younger kid in the neighborhood with it one time, and the mother said, "Joey, you know that stuff you can go to jail for." Anyway, one day Adam's friend pushed him, and Adam rammed into me. I was at my locker trying to open it up, the combination lock, and somehow, some way, he smashed my thumb or my finger, and I didn't realize at first how serious it was. Then I had gym class, and I couldn't do my push-ups, and the pain just wasn't going away. Anyway, I don't remember if I went home early or what, but I know I went to the hospital later that evening, and I told my parents what had happened, and they looked up Arden's parents in the phone book, and one of them called his parents, and he ended up getting punished for it. The other kid really should have too, but I don't know, I just didn't feel compelled. I figured Adam was all behind it and set it up and ran into me harder because his friend, Adam was bigger than me, but his friend Bill Sturman was smaller than I was, at least shorter than I was. Anyway, another time I was waiting to serve a detention, since my last class let out at 2:30 and 7th grade, and detention began at 3:30. I went into the bathroom, and I didn't have to go or anything, but just wanted to feel sorry for myself, having only a couple friends and so many people who disliked me. It was kind of getting me down, and while I was in there hiding in a stall, Adam came in walking slowly, kind of like real slowly, like this. When he saw me, he's like, he just stood there, tall. He's like, "This ain't the place to come when somebody wants to beat your ass. I don't like some of the things you say sometimes. Well, I'm not going to do anything to you now, but you just better learn to keep your mouth shut." And I said, "Okay, I will." And he said, "Good boy," and he walked out of the bathroom. And one day in the auditorium, he was sitting with his friend Scott Barber, and I was doing a little attention-getting thing, going like this, just smacking myself and giving myself a light punch or something like that. And Adam asked about it, and I said, oh, nothing. I was just playing with myself. And him and his friend Scott Barber ended up on the floor laughing. And as time went on, he kind of switched the story. He was still telling somebody about it in 8th grade, and he switched the story around. He didn't say that I was smacking myself, hitting myself. He said I was sloshing my dick around and through my pants, and then he asked if I had to go to the bathroom, and then I said no, I was just playing with myself. He told me he would never forget that one. I asked him why he kept bringing it up. He said, well, Joe, nobody goes around admitting that they play with themselves. But another time I did that in science class, smacking myself and going like this, and some girl named Janet Eyring said, hey, Joe, you always go around hitting yourself. And another time, when Adam and I were both serving detention, he would get out of his seat like he was going to the detention room. Teacher monitored, ask something, and then he would like either punch me in the arm or smack me in the head, just like that, and there was something. After detention and outside leaving the school, he acted like he was going to come after me, so I ran, and surprisingly he didn't follow me or chase after me. The next day in school, I threatened to report him, and he says, hey, I didn't do anything to you. You took off. Another time in homeroom, someone said to Adam when he was picking on me, why don't you pick on someone your own size, Adam? And Adam said, well, about me, he's my size sitting down. Another time we're waiting after class to serve detention in the school lobby, I overheard him express hatred about this real smart, brainy kid, Mike Weston, who was very good in science class and was said to know more about science and electronics than most adults. And Adam was saying, I hate him worse than Joe, and that's pretty bad. He also made fun of me for this time when he had to fill out these forms in a session in class at the beginning of the school year, and we had to put down things like our mom's name and contact not phone number in case we were sick or whatever. And in one part I put Dolores, and another part I put Dolores. That was my mom's name. The correct spelling was Dolores, but in one place I wrote Delores. So that came up. This teacher said something to me about it, and so then Adam was sometimes asking me if I had two mothers and telling people how I wrote Dolores and Dolores. Well, anyway, I had a kid that I picked on named Higginbottom. He was like mild-mannered kid, kind of a nerd without glasses. His mom was a substitute teacher who, a few years before in 3rd grade, threatened to keep me after school till 5 o'clock on the day when Mom wanted to go to Westside Market. She didn't, but it kind of pissed me off. Well, anyway, so I started calling him Higginbottom the Schmigginbottom. He was in my social studies class. And Higgy the Schmigiggy, also known as Schmigiggy Higgy. And one day in study hall, I had a piece of food caught in between my teeth. It was right after lunch, and so I managed to work it out with my tongue, and I aimed it, and it landed right on Higginbottom's cheek, and he's like, quit screwing around, get to work on your schoolwork or you're gonna flunk. He wiped it off. And I call him names like Higginbottom and Higginblotham and Higginblotham, because I remember that year Rick was telling the guidance counselor, my friends Doug and Rick, they were the only friends I had. They came to the guidance office with the guidance counselor and me, trying to help me become more normal, trying to figure out what my problem is, try to help me out. They took just about every study hall off, and I did too, to come in and see her. And she was working with me probably more than anybody else, because she figured I had more problems than anybody else, I guess. Well, anyway, in social studies, the first week or so, this kid Jerry Keener, he's always knocking books off my desk, and I'd say to him, you better leave me alone or I'll tell my parents. And I think I said it in other cases to other kids, and one day even the teacher got annoyed and said, oh, I've been hearing that every day since September the 3rd, the first day of school. Can't you change your line already? And then I teased this guy, Bob Cathy, K-A-T-H-E. I'd sing to him, Kate, instead of Casey would waltz with a strawberry blonde. I'd sing to him that old song, Kate, and I'd change it to Kathy would waltz with a strawberry blonde. He got mad, grabbed me a little rough, and asked me, are you going to cut it out? Another time in gym class, which he was in with me, there was a big gymnasium which they split into two, one for the boys' side, one for the girls' side, boys' class, girls' class. And there was a big long partition wall that opened up or closed, and it had a door on it where you and I opened it up and I yelled it to the girls, "You pieces of poo!" Now why did I do that, you ask? It's because over the summer, 2 houses down, I found a rubber hose and I was beating it on the lawn of this couple that had kids a little younger than me, a girl, Mary, 5 years younger, who had been a playmate to me a few years before, and her little brother Ricky. And Ricky was sitting out of a second-story window as I beat the hose against the ground and yelled things, trying to be a juvenile delinquent, trying to be a bad boy. He said, "Shut up, piece of poo. Cut it out, piece of poo." So I was imitating him, because this kindergarten had called me a piece of poo. And so anyway, when I did that, Bob ran over and pushed me against the wall. And I said, "What are you doing this for? I'm not bothering you." And he said, "You don't go around calling girls piece of poo." Let's skip ahead to 8th grade. There was this kid named Nick that I was getting into it with off and on since 6th grade. Sometimes he stuck up for me, sometimes he was my friend. But I remember I wouldn't take his tray back for him when he asked me to. Even though he'd been sticking up for me, because I was selfish, I guess, and I figured, why doesn't, I quietly thought to myself, why doesn't he get off his lazy ass and take his own tray back? So I refused to take his tray back to where you turn the trays in after you're done eating, so they can clean them and reuse them. And so he said he wasn't going to be my friend anymore. And the next day in math class, he says, "Hey, everybody, guess what? I'm not going to be Joe's friend anymore, so you can beat him up if you want." In 8th grade, we went through a time period where you're enemies at the end of the year. I was calling him a sucker and pissing him off. And anyway, I wrote notes to him like, "Nick the sucker, Nick the prick, Nick the fucker, fucking a stick." I remember those notes. About 4 of them, 4 or 5, were sent home in a letter, with a letter from the assistant principal to my dad recommending a specific mental health counselor at a specific place not far from where we lived. Well, anyway, another one, I said, "Nick the sucker, Nick the prick, Nick the fucker, fucking a stick" in one note. Another one I wrote, "Nick pisses in his water and farts in it, then he drinks it. He rubs his dick and a fire starts." Somebody said that about, some kids behind me said that about me when I was having a little fire in the back, and they asked me about it. I said, "I don't know how it started." They said, "I know. Between them, they said he rubbed his dick and the fire started." Well, anyway, that's where I got the idea. And then at the time, the Paul Simon song, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover came out, and so I changed the words. "You just slip up the back, Jack, suck my dick, Nick," instead of make new plans, Stan, or whatever. And then I wrote another one that said, "Nick's so fat he couldn't even roll up in a rug to play with himself, for that matter, not even a wet one." So the assistant principal sent a letter with some of the many notes written by Joe. But yeah, Nick and I had gotten into it several times.